Koh Lanta est un grand programme en France et j'aime beaucoup. It was very much in my background that I was not a pure anything. I'd done a lot of different things and I was not the unifying factor in all of them was storytelling. I began as a journalist, basically. I trained as a journalist on a local paper and then I got recruited by an entertainment programme to do journalistic items about London. And then I moved to a show which was for 16 to 30-year-olds and who weren't necessarily fundamentally interested in issues of the day. So to get them interested in issues, the idea was to basically create a sort of agenda of your own where people would behave in situations. And we did a lot of things like we did life swaps. So we swapped a person from the extreme Northern Isles of the UK with somebody who lived in Chelsea in London for a week and they lived with each other's families. So we're doing all those things which are now the basis of reality TV. What happened in the Hopefuls was it was a very short item and people would write in saying, I'll do anything to get on television. It was quite extreme, and then they would do quite extreme things to be on television for a week, and they would really enjoy it. And I think it was a thing of its time which tapped into actually a desire of people to be on television. It wasn't quite such a multi-channel world, and to get famous, there wasn't only Instagram or Facebook. So to be on television was a big deal. So it tapped into that. People really would do anything to be on television. But absolutely, all of those things fed in. If you wanted to see the genesis. I mean, in these programs, they were magazine programs, and so they had a lot of people coming through. They didn't actually have the same. They were structured, but there wasn't any game to them. But they were structured. So they all fed into this idea that actually you can make heroes out of people who want to be on television, and not more than that, you can. You actually can change the dynamics of TV. You can actually change the way people look at TV. And you can also make people who watch TV more excited about watching TV. And that's where those things came in. I think everybody has a different approach to it. I mean, in the case of this program, it took a very long time from beginning to end. It started as a small insert in a small TV program where we followed people in a documentary way, as we sent them to a desert island. There were 4 people, a stockbroker, a ex-prisoner, a soap star, and a tennis player, and we just sent them to a desert island. That was the sort of genesis of the program, that I wanted to see how this could be made into something which kind of returned and returned. And in order to do that, one created a structure around the program which was where the producer was in charge, and therefore you were in control of all the elements. You had the same things that you might do in a piece of journalism, but the producer was in charge. And that's, I suppose, where the background, if you like, all the things that I'd worked on came to the fore. We spent a lot of time trying to work out how it could be developed into something which had produced more money and which could entertain people over a longer period of time with different people. And that's how it turned from effectively a documentary into something which became, I suppose, closer to a game show. But I don't think of it as a game show. I mean, it has elements of a game show, it has elements of storytelling, and it has elements of drama, and it has, a thing which you might want to watch week to week, but I don't think it's a game show. If you think of game shows, they tend to be fairly straightforward formats which take place in studios. It has the element of a game show, but it's not a classic game show. At the time when it was developed, of course, there was no such thing as reality television. But I guess now you would actually call it probably the first reality TV show. And I think the elements that make it that are, it's not a pure anything. It's a mixture of real people put in extreme situations, controlled by a producer, to present an outcome which is both heroic and revealing about humanity. We took it to Disney in America, we developed it in America, and came up with an extremely detailed series of possibilities of what might or might not happen in it. And by the end, Disney, who would put the money in, didn't really want it. They couldn't quite see how it could work because it didn't fit into their normal descriptions of what a format could be, or indeed what an entertainment show might be, or a documentary. It was neither. It was kind of a cross between all of those things. So they said, well, we won't buy it. We went back to us. It came back to us, and I thought, we've got to be able to sell it. I couldn't sell it in the UK. And then we went to MIP in France, and we sold it to SVT, the Swedish public broadcaster, via a company called Strix, who made it with us. And we filmed the first one in 1999, I think it was. Or was it 1997, actually, I think. And so that was quite, that was really when it got made, after years and years of development.
Survivor is now stronger than ever, proving it's got what it takes to outwit.
My downfall could be a beautiful girl in the camp.
To outplay.
Survivor's ready! Go!
And above all, to outlast any adventure game show that has ever existed.
39 days, 16 people, 1 survivor.
Because of the years of development, it was extremely developed in that, there was a huge book of rules, there was a huge book of possible scenarios, there were pictures of what might happen. We'd filmed a short tape as to which is really a drama, but what might happen and how an episode might look. And in all its essence, the show was exactly the same as from the development as it came to the landing, which is quite unusual. I mean, there were management issue changes, like for instance on the first episode of the Swedish one, we found that the cameraman, if they left any food behind, it would be stolen by the contestants, and we realised we had to kind of create systems for that. There were lots of little things like that, but in all of the big essence of the programme, it was exactly the same when it was broadcast as when it began.
Discover how ordinary people become extraordinary heroes in this human adventure that surpasses reality, as people, just like you and me, push their limits.
Break them too. I'm like, what you doing out here?
Fighting for survival.
Survivor's like climbing Everest. It gets harder and harder the further you go up.
Against not only the elements,
It's genuine struggle.
but against each other.
Romantic alliances, not a smart move. You're gonna get targeted right away.
Caleb, the tribe spoke.
For ultimate victory. Battling through grueling and spectacular challenges.
This is going to hurt instantly.
Well, I think the secret, I think in our case, the secret is that we really spent a lot of time working out what could happen and the rules. So the rules are fair, and there's a clear balance between, pushing, if you like, the contestants to an edge and, what viewers see, So that's one thing, but it's also extremely intelligent production. I think it actually enables you to see what human life is. Why I say it isn't a pure game show is actually, it's a very human show. So, people can identify and watch themselves on there and see what they might do and understand how they might react in similar situations. I think that's what probably gives it its longevity. Honestly, yes. If you look at our original, the astonishing thing that happened was our American development, which was in about 1994, they gave us, quite a lot of money to come to America and develop this idea, which I'd only told them on paper for America. And so we worked it out, and it was 3 major documents, one of which was the idea, one of which was scripts, effectively scripts, and one of which was all the management issues about insurance and things. And in the idea section, it actually has a picture of a faked up Time magazine saying, the programme of the year. And that's exactly what happened. It really did happen exactly as we laid it out. It's funny, when you have an idea you just know will work, you just know it will work, I think.
It's one of the most watched and loved formats around the world.
A stunning paradise.
and a dangerous wilderness.
With multiple seasons still airing in France, Sweden, Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway, Italy, Spain, Greece, and Turkey.
Just when you think you've seen it all, you ain't seen nothing yet.
And 35 seasons in the US with more than 10 million viewers in 2017.
It's a very difficult one to answer because actually the world has changed too, and I'm not sure that if I was trying to sell Survivor or Koh Lanta now it would go so well, because one of the things that's happened is everybody wants an input, and I was extremely arrogant and extremely difficult to deal with, and I would not take anything. When I was trying to sell it, we got offers from broadcasters who said, we'd love to do that, but only as a 2-hour special, or we'd love to do that as 6 episodes. And I said, I don't think so, because it doesn't really work as 6 episodes, I'm sorry. You know, the big offers, it's a big offer from ITV to, you know, the commercial broadcaster in England to do that. And, you know, it was quite difficult to say no. But it was the right decision, because if we had done it as a 2-hour special or as a 6-episode series, it wouldn't have worked. So the first thing, I think, is stick to what you believe in, you know, and if that means risking not having it, it might be better than actually it being a flop. I think the second thing is think big. You know, why not? Why do you have to think small? Think big. And if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And if it isn't going to happen, it has to happen. In terms of the process, I think the thing I learned was work it all through. Think of every possible scenario. Think of what happens if this happens or that happens. Think what happens here in episode 3. Do a running order, do a structure, do an episode by episode structure, how you think it might work and how it might divert from how you think it might work. Think about how it ends as well as how it begins. I mean, at the end of the day, television is about storytelling. So each episode has to be a story. And if you think of it like that, then it has a beginning and a middle and an end. And then you've got something to watch in the beginning and the middle and the end. Well, I think the world is changing in a number of ways. I think the first thing that is happening is that there are bigger and bigger companies who have to see quick profits, and that means that for a creator it's hard because along the way there has to be failure. You have to, in order to succeed, you have to have failures, and I think big corporate entities who need to see money don't necessarily recognize that. But it's an essential part of what happens, because actually out of failure grow better things. I think the second thing is that there's, in terms of selling ideas, it's very hard to persuade broadcasters to part with their money without allowing them interference. And what has definitely changed since 1999, you know, early Survivor and now, is that everybody wants an input. If you go and sell a TV program, about 20 people will tell you what they think of it and try and make alterations. And it's very difficult to keep a cool head and say, this is not how it should be, it's got to be like this. But that doesn't mean to say you don't listen to those people, but you have to, you shouldn't go with everybody saying what they think. It's very hard to do that. And I suppose the third thing is that everybody wants to be a creator. And so naturally what happens is the broadcasters go with the people who they already trust, but they're not necessarily the ones who come up with the new ideas, and that's a difficulty. I think I have to be proud of Survivor Koh Lanta because it has been such a huge success globally and such a game changer. I mean, it is actually, if you look at it, the first reality television program, and it changed the nature of the way TV programs are made. I mean, this is despite, and weirdly despite the fact, I have never actually made it myself, and I never managed to make it a big success in the United Kingdom, which is obviously where I live. And it's a very strange thing. And when I go to the United States or to France, where I go often, or to Sweden, and they say, oh my goodness, you were responsible for that. But here, you know, it means nothing. It means nothing to no generation, whereas, you know, in America, they know immediately what it is, and the same in France. So it has to be that, even despite that strange thing.